to Masters support.
He was Masters?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Uh yeah, not gonna lie. It was kind of nice. Like he played it well. Overall, our lanes went perfectly fine. It seemed like we played it well. We're just 2 games in a row where it feels like we're really scared to act upon our win condition. Like that last game, yes, I kind of like I had some fun with it and gave away a kill at the end, but even then, after that, we should have been able to close it out, but we didn't. And it's like we have a dive comp that we were trying to play front to back that obviously didn't work. The later it went,
Yeah.
like one person would get hooked, Jinx would get a kill, and that would just be it. It'd be over. And I never really had an angle that I could dive on her without just absolutely inting my face off. First game,
Yes.
I was so far ahead on Jinx, so like item and a half ahead, to the point where
Really?
I was playing up the final team fight. I stepped up a little bit because I had QSS and figured I could bait out somebody's initiation and then we kill them. I get the reset and we go. I stepped up. Maokai comes in on me. I QSS and I'm able to get out damage from the back. Ari comes in to dive the back line. She stopwatches. I kill her, but by the time I kill her, the enemy Caitlyn is pretty much torn through our front line. So we weren't able to get the kill in time for me to turn. And that was pretty much it. But it is what it is. How have you been?
Pretty good. Just chilling.
Anything interesting happened over the last week?
Not really anything crazy with work. Just watching the NBA playoffs.
Who won the games today? I haven't checked scores.
Bucks won pretty hard, and Grizzlies won.
Okay.
And then I've been watching. Well, league's over now, so.
Well, LEC
like
still
all
on.
all the leagues I could watch, I guess. LEC is like the worst time for me. It's when I'm sleeping.
Oh, true. I forgot your sleep schedule is like massively different.
Yeah.
I must say you're missing some good games.
I watch the highlights still.
BDS.
In some games, I go back and watch the full game.
I'm praying to God that BDS ends up winning it all. I really am.
It'd be funny if they did.
It'd be funnier as a North American fan if they didn't and G2 won and Mad Lions ended up going. That would be the ultimate irony.
No, best case would be Vitality.
Oh, why? So they could choke on the international stage?
I just want to watch Vitality and G2 go. I think it'd make me chuckle.
Why?
I don't know. I just think it'd be funny. I think it'd be funny to have a finals between Adam and Upset.
True.
Like those two going at it would be hilarious to me.
We already saw how it went though. Adam absolutely smashed him.
Yeah, but I'm not a huge. I don't know. I know everybody loves lower bracket, so I'm not gonna say too much on it, and it's already dead. They've committed to lower bracket for everything, but the amount of second chances people have lately is something else to me.
Yeah.
But I am also a traditional sports fan, so usually I don't watch people get all these second chances.
I'm not gonna lie though, double elim does have me hyped for MSI.
It's fun and stuff like that. I don't know, there's some types of it some days where I'm like, hey, you beat them once, and you basically get no advantage other than picking sides.
Yeah.
Like if they got a 1-0, like if they got a 1-game lead to go into the final series, that would be more fair to me.
Final series, best of 7 with a 1-0 lead. Yeah.
No, 5, like still best 5s, you just get 1-game lead. So you have to win 2.
I hate that, personally. I think you need to win 3 games to win a series, like even if you're given 1.
I mean, if you think about it, if they beat them once and they beat them again, they've beat them 5 times still at that point.
You're not wrong, but it's just, like it just makes the finals so anticlimactic.
I get that for sure. And or you could do the reset idea. They have to reset the bracket. You do 1 best of 5. Yeah, I'm cool with a reset. Reset would completely even me out, because at that point, at that point there's a possibility of 15 games in a best of 5 scenario if all of them went that far. But at that point, you've beat them twice in best of 5s. I'll live with it.
Yeah.
The fact that you can split best of 5s with somebody though and be the champion is insane to me.
Agreed.
Crazy to me.
Agreed. But people love this system, so
They do. They love it. They eat it up.
I don't know.
Only other thing I listened to is your Hotline Lean take. I did not realize they would hate it that much. I listened to your stream still when I got up.
I knew Travis would. I knew Travis was like vehemently against it. Mark Z, I didn't think would be that much against it. But
I didn't either.
Here's the thing, and I don't know if this will get me in trouble for saying this, but it is what it is. I'm sorry, but everybody that's out in LA is just super privileged at this point. And they all just have this laid back attitude of like, we're going to fix shit under the assumption that we're going to be here, and just have no recognition that the East Coast needs more love than people think. Like, I get it's costly. I'm not denying the cost element of it, but I think people are really discounting how much in-person League of Legends can make a difference. And there's like, they have the sentiment of like, oh, visiting a place too much will burn them out on it. It's like, you've been in LA for 10 years. Has it burnt you guys out? Has it burnt any of the fans there out? You've been there every weekend for 10 years. Like, that argument, I don't think applies. Like, sure, if we're going to Raleigh, North Carolina every weekend, yeah, people might get burnt out on it a little bit. But, like, I refuse to believe 6 road shows a year can burn people out on seeing League of Legends in person, especially if you're visiting 6 different areas.
Yeah, and it's also, today they released that doc, right? And in the doc, they put that they're getting 5 to 10 times of like the value of what they're charging their sponsors, according to some, I think it was Nielsen or something. I don't really know all that stuff. That's probably more your like area of
That's
life.
not even my area, but I saw like one response because somebody was questioning like, what metrics are you using to artificially pump that up, and like somebody disclosed it.
But still, I was like, if you're claiming that, or at least saying that, then you cannot convince me that they can't get an airline to pay for the plane tickets problems that people talk about.
Thank you.
I don't understand that idea of it.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't to me either. I know we're in an echo chamber, like both of us kind of agree on things, but it's still like, in my opinion, there's got to be a way to make it affordable. I know right now they want to say it's just not feasible, but that in my mind tells me more than anything that's a red flag.
Yeah.
That you don't have a way to travel monetarily feasible, because that tells me you can't figure out how to do it feasibly.
Yeah.
That's it. Because right now you're telling me that who is it, that French team? I can't remember their name.
Vitality.
K-Core?
Oh, K-Core,
was it?
yeah.
Yeah, K-Core was doing events, and they were figuring out how to move people and get things to places and get all their setup good, and they could figure it out. They could put it together. Granted, they were doing them kind of locally-ish, but they could still put it together in a league camp.
They're selling out. They sold out the Accords Hotel Arena.
Yeah,
for a scrim game.
Like, and China's traveling. They have arenas, bro. Like, China travels to arenas, which I guess is, people want to say, oh, well, that's easier because it's cheaper because the arenas are pre-built. They have like 10 arenas built.
We've got gymnasiums all around the freaking US. We don't have to have this massive setup. Like, even like, people came at me for the labor costs as well. Like, you don't understand how many people it takes to put on. Do we really need that many people? Like, this is one of those cases where I firmly believe people just have this, like, it has to be this insane quality and this, X level. It's like, no. People just want League. Like, it doesn't have to be on a like, Travis went the exact opposite direction. It was like, it's going to be on a projector then. Like, no, it's not going to be on a freaking projector. Jesus Christ. Like, you don't have to go to one extreme. But if you're telling me that you really can't reduce the staff, reduce the production, pair with colleges, and make this affordable, there's no fucking way. There's no
And
way.
you could actually put it on a projector and it would be fine.
Yeah, that's the worst part.
Like, people say that, and I'm like, bro, like, how do you think mega churches work? They just project things all the time and people eat it up. They eat it up entirely. Like, you can do projectors. You can go to a theater and do their projectors. A lot of theaters use projectors for EDM guys. Like, if EDM concerts can figure out how to be monetary feasible with all the electronics they're moving, like, I don't see how we can't.
I refuse to buy any of the narrative there other than people are just complacent in the way that things are. And they're hoping that they can change the existing model, which I think, by all means, the post that John Needham said today is actually like a very good step, especially like if they do develop like this watch platform that allows you to identify, Faker plays this skin, somebody directly then buys the skin from that watch client.
Yeah.
And then you can say, like, from an accounting point of view, that revenue was directly earned by esports. So revenue recognition standards, technically, the LCS team owners, the league itself has a clear path to getting that revenue. And if Riot denies them that, they can just simply sue if they want to. Like, that option is there. So, like, I get there are... My camera's turning off and on. There are definitely online venues that are working in their favor to try and help monetization, but you cannot fucking tell me that somebody that's willing to travel for League is not going to be the person that you need to identify as they are more likely to spend on League than your average online viewer.
Yep. And it's like, clearly we have gone and dusted the online space.
They're still focusing on EU.
Out. Yeah, they've run out the online space as much as they can. They're not going to build any bigger. And already with import rule leaks, I mean, honestly, for an off-season week, this was a pretty big week. Like, especially with that doc drop today. Like, the import rules changing.
I'll pause you right there.
Is it not?
Based on what Travis and Mark Z said, it is not changing.
Oh, okay.
That's all I can say.
Oh, well, if it doesn't change, then I guess you're still fine. But then it makes that, in my mind, if you're not like changing the import rule, it makes even less sense why you're trying to go get the EU fan base this hard.
I know.
Like, if you want the EU fan base, I get it, but you better start buying EMEA players.
Yeah.
Like, you better start filling out the league with them and just become like we did with Tusil or Tsuli, and Unforgiven should be starting at this point on some team. Like, if you want EU fans that bad, we should be just stacking it out with EU players.
Yep.
But at that point, we're just another EU league, and
I
don't see how that.
Exactly.
I don't see how it helps.
Exactly. It doesn't help at all.
Yeah. I don't see how it helps.
Nothing to help us. Like,
And Brazil's showing us you can build local.
Oh, I know. But like every time that somebody wants to point at, like, oh, we can't do this domestically, it's like, look at fucking Brazil. They're doing it perfectly fine, and they're embracing every bit of the locality of it. Now, granted, it's a lot easier for Brazil as a country to focus on that than anybody else, given the size. But it's like, come on. I don't get it. And John, like, the thing that John said in the interview with Travis was like, oh, if we would have done the original time, things might have been better and we might not have had that 10% drop. Is like, I don't buy it.
Yep.
Sure, if viewership remains stagnant, great. You're killing off NA fans. You're sacrificing them in our own region.
And even then, the size thing for Brazil, like the size argument, right? You can say it's smaller than America, right? If you want to, whatever. Yep. I know they're pretty comparable, whatever. But Brazil is like double the size of EU. So the fact that they're pulling off being able. I know they're one country, so it's way different. But EU at this point is one like continent, whatever you want to call it, one region to themselves. They're pulling off the local idea, and they're getting people to buy in, and they're like not that they're pretty far apart. They gotta go places for finals to bring in other locations, and they do that. They do travel, but I don't know. Just the way we're viewing it as like L, and the worst part is we picked the smaller side. Like, why pick the smaller coast if you're gonna dig your heels in and say that you're only gonna stay in one place? At least go where the people are. Like, have some, I don't know, go where they are.
Look,
You have to go where they are at some point.
they've
At
made
this
their
point, the argument should be why is it LA and why is it not Chicago? Because Chicago's the most accessible.
because they made their bed and they're laying in it now.
Yeah,
They
that's true.
they made the decision 10 or however many years ago to double down on LA. Teams got facilities and you pretty much
Yep.
you baked everything in LA now. And that's their home base.
Silly. Because I heard them arguing with you about New York City, which made me laugh because I was like, they're not even looking at the fact that Chicago is literally like damn near the middle of America as far as population goes. And you could stack that out too, which I get going to New York City would make sense too. I have no issue with it because
The
New York City is a little closer for most of the country.
I agree. The only thing that I do understand from their part is that they own the Riot Arena. So technically
Oh yeah,
you're not paying additional
that's
cost
fair.
and there's a lot of benefit to being there. But if Valorant is going to force you out or force you to a less desirable time zone,
Hmm.
then get another like I refuse to believe for Riot's sake that it's not beneficial to have like a second studio in Chicago or
Hmm.
DC or wherever the fuck probably Chicago. And like just have the ability to swap coasts. Like you do a month of LCS in Chicago, a month of Valorant in LA, and then you swap them. And it's like, we can have them both on weekends, but then you
And
swap cities that they're in. And
and they
you
already, I know they already own land out there
and
because they have
you're
servers there.
yeah, and you build out, well, just because you have servers doesn't necessarily mean that you have
Well, I just mean they
land.
have like they know they have like at least established areas. Like they know how to buy land there. They know the structure over there. They at least have to have a couple, one or two employees near that server farm.
Yep.
Like I
It,
highly doubt Chicago's is a foreign land for them.
if Riot is truly all in on esports like they're saying and bought in the next 10 years they will have another space besides just LA for
Yeah,
themselves. 100%. Like there's
yeah,
not a doubt in my mind that you at some point need some other spot that you can get people to go to given the ever expanding amount of esports and everything else that they have.
yeah.
So I
Because
don't know.
saying that picking Raleigh, North Carolina as the representation of the East Coast
Yeah.
is comical at best. Like saying, "Oh, there just obviously aren't that many East Coast fans," when you can like just you picked Raleigh, like
On Easter Sunday.
yeah, on Masters and Easter Sunday. So most people in that region, anyways, care more about the Masters.
I didn't even watch the last two games of finals. And
Yeah, because
I'm like
probably you're a golf guy.
yeah, I'm like one of the more dedicated people in the league scene, all things considered, and I could not watch it because my family was in town for Easter and we were watching the Masters. There's
Yeah.
no chance with my family in town that I'm going to be able to convince them to watch video games unless I'm getting paid to do so.
And it's even like it's pretty small. Like their metro population is 1.4 mil. That's like not very big
As Rico said,
for us.
Brooklyn is double North Carolina's population.
Yeah,
Brooklyn.
yeah.
I there's no way that you couldn't put like a lull park in New York City.
You wanna, you know what's crazy?
What?
Indianapolis metro. So I'm going by metros because
Okay.
I'm not gonna go by city, but Indianapolis metro has 700,000 more people than Raleigh's. And we're
Really?
not even a big city in the East. You know what
The
I mean?
the difference
We're
is that
considered small.
the difference is that you have connectivity to DC.
Oh, for sure.
Baltimore, DC, and everything else there is 4 hours away via
For
drive
sure, but
straight down 95.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like we're even closer to Chicago there. Like you want to argue like they might have picked the worst city they could have picked to represent East player base interest
I
because
I mean, to be fair,
I
they
get,
deserve it. Like Raleigh deserves a
no, they
final at
do.
some point. I just don't
They
think they
do.
need. You don't have to do the full wraparound arena. You can do what they did in spring finals last year. I know we touched on that last week, so I don't want to like
Hmm.
really beat a dead horse, but yeah.
Yeah.
Think about it though. I get high taxes and people want to bitch about that, sure, but there's no way you can tell me that a low park wouldn't absolutely kill it. And I would feel bad because, like, by all means, like, I'm friends with the owners of the PC cafes here in New York. It would
Hmm.
drive them out of business. If you have the ability to go to one centralized, like, PC cafe with an arena, like, upstairs
Hmm.
or, like, on the second floor, whatever you want to do, every single Valorant and League of Legends player would go play there.
Yep.
Especially if you offer some sort of incentive, like, hey, if you play here, you get 5% extra this versus anywhere else. Like, you have everything in house. It's
Better
like,
drops. Yeah.
shit. That's a,
Yeah.
oh. And you, like, the amount of gamers that we have here,
Hmm.
that'd be nuts. Now, obviously, you still have issues with, players lodging here and everything else, but, like,
Yeah.
you don't have to have events in the theater space upstairs. You can still rent that out as, like, retail space elsewhere. But
Yeah,
there's,
because I mean, even now, like thinking about it, in my opinion, it's like you can't even say the LA space is healthy or good because it's not even selling. Like, what is their
well,
argument there? You
Valorant is
can't
selling.
get rid of tickets.
Valorant is selling out.
Yeah, I'm saying, but we aren't.
Oh
Like,
yeah, for League,
so
yeah.
yeah, if League isn't even able to sell out, what's the point of being there? Other than familiarity and
Reduce
cheapness.
costs because you already have everything in
Yeah,
house. Like, I mean,
like,
that's the honest to God truth. They don't have to pay anymore to go
yeah.
elsewhere. So why would they?
So at this point, cheapness is the only reason to be there. So what does that tell your fans? Like at this point, you might as well say the LCS is trying to run it like the Commanders.
Yeah.
Like we're just a version of the Commanders in the League of Legends space. And we're hoping that we'll somehow keep living without new ownership or something new.
And that's what I
Like
don't get about like the argument that Travis and Mark brought up, but I didn't really get. I don't know, like if you
I
track
watched,
the
I
amount.
listened to.
I don't know if you track the amount of time that people got to talk versus one another. Like,
Yeah, it's their show, so they're
yeah,
gonna
no,
talk.
completely understandable.
Yeah.
But it's like neither one of them like really addressed the issue of like how do we grow this. Like what the measures that they put in place were basically like that sounds risky, let's not do it. It's like we're already like going this way. Like what do you why does sitting on our ass and doing the exact same thing not the exact okay, to Mark's point, like it's not the exact same thing. We're experimenting with formats and other smaller changes. And sure,
Yeah.
I'll give it that. But that's not meaningful change.
Mhm.
That like at this point you should know if we're making all of these small changes and it's not working, you need a big one.
Yep.
And not just a weekday, like a day of the week change cuz clearly that's not it either. It has nothing to do with your online like the LCS product itself is the best it's been in years and it makes no difference.
Yep.
It arguably hemorrhages the bleeding further, but we're still losing people. Coco.
And there's
no.
one of my little fears right now is the fact we could literally send this might be one of our more I don't know how to say it because I almost sound like I'm a coped up dude on an A right now, but this is genuinely one of our more mechanically talented teams, I would say we're sending to
Agreed.
MSI. Like C9 might have one of the best shots since what, TL or 2016 TSM type deals
Probably, yeah.
internationally.
No, I'd agree.
Like this is one of those, and I just feel like nobody cares.
No,
So like
the
whatever we're
conversation hasn't been there at all.
yeah, whatever we're doing that is new, which I know they're trying, it's just not functioning perfectly, and their only hope at this point is selling to streamers and like that side. And I
It's a
just don't
band-aid
see
over a
that
bullet wound.
side. Yeah, it's like that's like yeah, it's essentially putting a tourniquet on being shot in the neck. Like that's what you're doing. You're just saying, "Hey, we're gonna bring in Mr. Beast, and he's gonna live stream, and he's gonna save this."
Well,
And
Monte Cristo even said it himself. Like, there's so many teams selling that Mr. Beast has had every chance to get in, and he's not. That should tell you
that
everything you
too.
need to know.
And he didn't even buy like our brands, which would have made sense for him.
Yeah,
If he wanted to buy a brand, it would have made a lot of sense to just say, "Hey,
I'm
I'm
Mr.
gonna buy
TSM.
yeah TSM and partner with them or something." I don't know. Probably want your full name on there,
Yeah.
so wouldn't partner. But like that's not even happening. And when a lot of your owners who are the more, I would say, monetarily, the more, I don't know how to say it, because I feel like Reggie and Nadeshot are very good at keeping the business afloat type deal, and they're trying to leave. Like you could say they're nearsighted or short-sighted, maybe, but it also isn't a good sign when they're talking about it.
Exactly. And it's like, yeah, sorry, we're still going. I'll be on until like 12, and then I'm done.
That's a good point. Charlie put.
Yeah,
They
Mr.
put
Beast
finals
didn't
in his
even.
backyard, and he didn't even show up.
To be fair, Mr. Beast's schedule is probably booked so far in advance that like
True, but
it.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
hey, you gotta book him, and you gotta plan that earlier.
Yeah, I agree.
That's negligence to not
Although
have him.
I will say, if you noticed in the interview, John Needham said that this finals was a pivot. He
Oh, it
didn't
was pivot.
he didn't elaborate much further, but he said this finals was a pivot from what they originally intended last minute.
Hmm.
So I don't know what that entails. I don't know what
Hmm.
I don't know what that means from there. But
That's a good point.
oh, Eve. I
Yes,
it felt like a pivot. The whole vibe was so strange. See, that's the thing.
I feel that.
The amount of people that I talked to that went to North Carolina and said it didn't something was off. They couldn't put their finger on what. They had no clue, but it just didn't feel the same as like summer finals in Chicago or even spring finals in Houston. Like everybody that I know that went to spring finals in Houston loved it. Like legitimately loved it. And
That's a good point.
I don't know. I don't know what
Yes,
it was, but
it's not like Houston's a easier city than Raleigh to get to, so people had to travel, and people were traveling. So
Houston's also like the third biggest city in the United States. So
true, it is huge. I just was there. Yeah, it was big. But they, I just mean, it's like it's not like I don't know. That's whack. That is whack. I didn't even think about how awkward it was. I guess that's a good point.
it felt weird, didn't it? Like that, and that's nobody can
Yeah.
explain why. Like there's nothing there. My biggest thing that I think hurt it a lot is I truly do believe the weekday change made a massive difference.
Oh
Go
yeah, and
go
doing playoffs on random days.
going from Thursday Friday to all of a sudden just Saturday Sunday 2 days out of the year, it feels weird.
Agreed.
Like it just I don't know. Something about it just didn't feel right.
I I noticed that. Well, we were talking about that before finals even happened. We were DMing about how I was confused because I was so out of the know. Because
Yeah.
at the time I was on day shift, like I was doing a lot of weird stuff then, and I
Yeah.
was coming back to like getting into the game again, and on nights, and it was like I was like, dude, why are these every different day? Like I am struggling to find a flow.
Yeah.
Because like the Chinese and the LCK finals were like the schedules were matching. That so was EU's at the time. Like their ending of splits and going into games was matching. And then I was coming to the NA one and I was like, bro, I literally can't figure out which day they're playing.
Yeah.
Like I'm having to go, like I have to look at the little thing on Lowell Esports, go through the schedule and scroll down and be like, okay, what's next week's game days? And
And the
when like you can't just turn it on or intrinsically in your brain, when you've been watching something as much as me and you have, and you go, oh shoot, it's today, it should be on, and you turn it on and nothing's there, that's not a good feeling.
no, it's awkward. It's
Yep.
really awkward.
It just feels weird in your head. Because I will say, this year, I've read a lot of what people have said about JDG. I've watched all of those games. I watched all the LCK games because I've worked nights. And I can tell you, the mid laners look a little weird this year, a little inty. They do look like you can play into them. Like, Knight and Yagao wasn't an insane matchup. There was actually a play where Yagao literally flashed into the Ari charm, like flashed backwards instead of forwards on accident, and flashed into an Ari charm. And I was like, okay, like M&S on an assassin could keep up with this. Anything else, he'll probably int. But on an assassin, I think it's possible. If there were a year for you to be hyping up your team,
This was
this
the
would
year.
be the year. Like they're
I
they're playing a little sloppy.
On top of that, I will just say this, and I don't know who needs to freaking do this. Why do we not have more NA pride going into these events, and not just from like fans, but like from the LCS? Like
Yeah.
it feel like there's it feels like we're missing something to bring unity to everybody. Like it sounds dumb, but like when TL would make it to MSI or Worlds and had like those unique jerseys every time,
Yep.
it it felt like something that you could rally around. Like
Mhm.
even just something small like that made a massive difference. And it's just like we're not doing any of it. And then you got Fudge coming out here saying that C9's the only hope, and it's like, well, then that fucking kills the hype for Golden Guardians as well. Like, what? How hard is it for us to get on a unified front, from the fans to the players to the organizations to the league, when we go to the
Yeah.
international stage? Like, just put our differences aside, and when we step on that stage, we're NA.
It's also hard though because a majority of NA's like existence was just hating, uh, was literally just TSM and C9 hoping each other sucked, so the other one could outperform the other, and that was it. Like it was just us two hating on each other, and then TL came, and it was kind of more of the same. It was like, you know what,
I was
double lift, I
TL
hope
didn't.
you lose. TL wasn't completely unifying, but that's because you either liked double lift at that point or you just hated him.
Yeah, and you had a formed opinion. There was no like.
Yeah, there was no question. Like I going into it when they got absolutely smacked around by G2, I remember being in a Discord with you laughing. Literally laughing at people and going like, "How's that feel?" Like it would be a 20-minute game and I'd go, "Ooh, that sucks. I feel bad for you." That's what I was saying to the TL fans in there. I was like, "I feel bad. If you need a shoulder to cry on, come cry on mine, but it's gonna be a little hard and it's gonna suck, and I'm gonna tell you you stink because I hate your team." I'd be like, "I hope it hurts," but now it's like, uh, like I guess you could really unite, but I don't know if the other teams really have anybody left to unite.
No.
TSM doesn't have a fan base, that's for sure. Neither does CLG because they don't exist. So, like, who are you gonna unite? TL fans? You could probably unite the 10 Flag Quest fans. No offense, Rico. Or the 5 Golden Guardians
Jesus.
fans.
I don't know. I don't
He
know.
knows it's all love because my team might not exist in about 6 months.
Yep.
So, but I do think like you gotta find a way. I agree with you though. You have to find a way to unite. And right now should be the easiest time to unite people.
Yep.
Like C9's kind of the only old guard left at this point that's relevant.
Yeah.
TL's trying to become a foreign team, so nobody even likes them anymore.
That's like, okay, I'm tired of getting shit for saying that North American teams are easier to market. Somebody called me out on this on Twitter the other day, which I shouldn't be surprised because I'm getting, like, people will shit on even when I post my resume on Twitter now, which is just absurd. But they, I made a comment about how when it came to the import rule, like, just either abolish it or make it more strict. And they're like, well, what domestic player has honestly gotten the following that Berserker and Fudge and others have gotten? As like, Jojo Pune, Danny, Blaver. Like, I don't have to keep going on, but like, it is, if you can't tell the difference of how people cheer on rosters that have NA players versus rosters that don't, I don't know what to tell you. Because 100 Thieves was one of the most consistent rosters in the last however many years of League of Legends. Even when C9 was faltering and having their up and downs, 100 Thieves was second or first every time.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, Lynn, are you good? And nobody gave a shit. Why?
No.
Because we had one. Luna, you good? Seriously? You're choking worse than North America. Come on.
Oh no. Hasn't even started.
Luna just got her foot stuck in the tissue box.
Nice. But at what was, Jesus, that really got to rip. Oh yeah, 100 Thieves. Nobody gave a shit.
No, they didn't.
And if TL made it this year, I promise you, nobody would give a shit.
David,
TL has a lot of fans though.
take it in your basket.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, it's like people want to see some amount of local players win, but the issue is, like, I've noticed in NA, I was honestly looking after Revenge got cut and Fleshy got moved down and Treats got moved to Immortals, right? Like, after all that happened, I was like, you know, like, how old is LCS? Like, how many recycled players do we really run through? And it is not good. It is not a good look. And the lacking of tapping into the talent pool is even worse. Like, we do not try out new people.
No.
We just don't. It's
Because
not good.
People are going to say, oh, well, that's because we don't have new people. It's like, okay, that's part of the problem.
Well, I mean though, like, who was that? I can't even remember the ADC, but there was that team that had no sponsor, and they were called like No Name, and they ran the whole bottom bracket. Like,
Yeah, but I think
it was
that was
either
like
last year or 2 years
that was
ago.
like Dokla and like a few others as well.
No, because their ADC was like a 24-year-old who had never gotten a chance.
No, I have no
It
clue.
wasn't Dokla. I remember it was like Viper or something, the guy's name. It wasn't that. I can't remember.
I'm not sure.
But it was like this weird unsponsored team that ran through, and I think only one of them got a chance in LCS. And it was crazy to me, like crazy. And the reason they didn't give the ADC a chance is because they said he was too old.
What are you doing?
They said he was 24, so they didn't think it was worth. Like, a lot of orgs said that. And I was like, bro, how does this keep happening? Value, yes.
Oh, value. Yeah.
There could have been other stuff that came with it, like I can't remember if there was controversy or not. Charles would probably know more. But I just remember, like, him not getting any chances, and I was like, how do you not even try when you have, like, a lot of ADCs
You have
who are...
tactical still, and like I love the guy by all means. I do. I don't want to shit talk him too bad, but like you got to
Yep.
be willing to cycle through players and like give
Yep.
new guys chances, even for a split. Like you got to try something. And it's just like, I also don't get, some people are like, oh, you know, the fact that rosters are changing all the time, like, is really hurting my opinion and view of these teams. It's like, well, maybe if we were actually trying new players, then it'd be different, and like new North American players, but we're not.
Yep.
What do you have?
And I hope that TL. Okay.
She was eating Twizzlers, Paul. Paul. I just call you Paul.
I don't know. Like there's so many issues that need to be addressed.
Yep.
And I'm curious to see what Nas says when Travis meets with him. But it honestly just feels like we're just gonna keep doing the status quo.
Yep. And it's kind of sad. I mean, the roster was Viper and 5 fire value and big. So I guess like it was just
Five
5
Fire's
fire
another
and
one.
value
Yeah.
that were the two that were interesting. But still, it's like just try them out and run it through. I know 5 fire got a shot, or at least I think he did. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I get if they suck, they suck. It's whatever. Like, just let it be. Like, cause look at BDS.
Yeah.
BDS tried something. They basically did a shot in the dark, and it ended up working. I get Crowny's good, and a lot of people loved him.
But
I'm gonna say
Adam,
he's not.
people were very down on Adam.
They
Like,
were,
very down on Adam, especially after the Fnatic year.
and nobody really knew who the others were. Well, they knew Lebrov, but that was about it.
Well, Nuclear and who's now Nuke, he's played before, so it's not like
True.
but
Oh, that's who Nuke is.
yeah, Nuclear and
I'd swear I'd seen him before. I didn't know that's who he is.
yeah.
Okay, but
The
at
jo-
least like
the
you're
joke
taking
is
all
that
these
it took him
guys.
a few years to drop the int.
So that's why he has the mustache.
Yep.
But it's like you might as well try this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I don't know what else you do. I mean, you can recycle the talent, but if you're gonna recycle it, at least recycle people who are like giving them shots. You know what I mean? Like you're seeing
The-
how good they are, and you're not just
the-
keep doing it every year.
The problem that you're gonna have though is that CB LOL, even though they're bigger, until they finally outplace us at Worlds or MSI, like I don't think any significant change is gonna happen. People are just gonna
True.
be complacent that we're the 4th best region. And that is what it is.
At least owners are.
Yeah.
Like I think the only one really trying is because the only one really trying out of their minds would be C9
Yeah.
to get better players, but they're just grabbing foreign players. Like,
Well, to be fair, that's discrediting C9. I will blame FlyQuest for that. You just grabbed Impact, you grabbed Ayla, sure, but like Vikla, Spica, Prince, like that, it feels like your standard like NA. We went out and bought a good roster, whereas C9, Blabber they developed young. People didn't take a chance on Fudge. C9 brought him into Academy fairly early on. Berserker they got lucky on because they had LS for a coach for 3 weeks. So like, and Sven role swap support. So like that I'm not counting that.
yeah, it's just that they have one NA player.
Do they really only have one NA player? Yeah, they have
Yeah.
one NA player.
They're no different than Fly,
Wow.
who has one NA player.
Golden Guardians has what? 2? Yeah, 2. With
Two.
with Stixay and Licorice.
Yep. So it's like,
That's not discounting Huhi, because he's been here for a while. But
I mean, I don't understand why that point though. I guess I don't really get Nick's point though, saying we developed our imports. It doesn't really change that they're imports.
yeah.
Like I know you might have a bond, but my more point is that it's like other people might struggle to come around a team that isn't that. You know what I mean?
The problem
Like that
is,
could be a hard uniting factor when we say like, oh, this is a homegrown team or this is an NA team. That's why I think people take it as not an NA team, whether you develop it or not.
and it wouldn't matter if we didn't have regional leagues. But because we have regional leagues and there's a heavy focus
Yeah.
on it being North America's region, You want it to be North American players, predominantly.
Yeah.
Not all of them. Obviously, everybody's fine with importing to a certain extent. But, like, you don't want every team to be overwhelming majority not North American. Because it's like, are we really North American then? Like, what's our cultural identity as a league?
Well, I'm still allowed to have that talk. He said talking about imports that you've bonded with is not a convo you want to have because of Bjergsen. But yeah,
I mean,
we only
but
had
there's a reason why double
Dyrus.
lift. There's a reason why double lift is bigger than Bjergsen, in my opinion.
Yeah. And my point is exactly that. People are gonna say, that's my point, is that TSM people rallied around Bjergsen, Lust Boy, Amazing, Wild Turtle, and Dyrus. Nobody else would. Because they kept saying that we were just a bot team back then. And
Yep.
you can try to tell me I'm lying, but I was there. I was there the whole time. And I was being told oh, you guys are just a bunch of imports. It's not like you're an American team. You're 2/5 American. That's what they would tell me all the time. And I'd be like, okay. And they would go, yeah, so why would we cheer for you? And I'm like, then don't. And so I would just cheer against them too. So like that's gonna just happen forever.
Yep.
In LCS until it's somehow fixed. I don't know.
I don't think there is going to be a fix. I still think the long-term play here is going to be the LCS drops down to 6 teams. Sure, 6 teams, and the CB LOL gets 4 teams in, and then throw 1 team in from Mexico.
You really think that's how they'll do it?
Yeah, I think in 10 years we're only gonna have 4 regions. John Needham even hinted towards it today. He's like, we have way too many teams in League of Legends.
Huh.
He specifically said like it is easier to work on Valorant because there's a lot less teams, and it is a lot more stable. And the second he said that, it's like, okay, you're slowly waiting for the day that League can become Valorant. And what they're doing, so Travis asked them if they'd be willing to buy back spots. So like say Dignitas wants to sell, Riot buys the slot back and then just drops it down to 9. You technically could, but I think Riot at this point is just going to let NA die down to the point where it fades to like 6 or 7 teams on its own and then merges everything.
That's psycho.
Why is it psycho?
Just the fact that they're like openly saying like, hey, we think that League is going to get so small that like we can't support this amount of teams.
They're not saying smaller. Overall, the global or the international side is growing. They just want to drop the number of teams that are involved. It makes it easier for them to work with.
Yeah, I just mean that won't happen in China or EU.
I mean, China's the big problem. But I think the biggest thing that you need to do, and I think what they're heading more towards is the minor regions.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's crazy that like they're just sacking like minor regions like that.
But 50 teams is easier to work with than the rest, and you give the minor regions their like development leagues into. I agree. I'm just saying, like clearly that's where they see this going.
Well, no, I'm saying more. And wow, the more I think about it, that's even crazier because at this point, they're never doing what we've said, bro. Never. In a million years, never. They're never gonna. They don't care about anything we've talked about. As far as like building things locally goes, that's not happening if they're sacking teams. No way. No way. That's wild. I mean, I'm sorry. I just didn't have time to read the whole thing. I read bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So, hearing this for the first time, it's just like, dang, they're really cutting stuff down.
Yeah.
That's their plan.
Look,
it's kind of sad.
Unfortunately, we got to kind of wrap this up because it is getting close to midnight. I know I started later, but
sorry.
The server issues were a problem for the Performance League today. But I just want to come back to this, and it's my $1 billion idea for Riot Games.
Mm-hmm.
Put a LOL park in New York City. I'm telling you, it's a brilliant idea. Get the space. I don't care if you don't partner with Madison Square Garden either. Do your own thing. Have a LOL park somewhere down in like Chinatown or wherever you want to put it. that has like the easiest access of everybody to get there, and just have it be a massive PC cafe on the lower floor and a stadium on the upper floor, so that whenever league games are going on, you can have like leagues. Imagine this: you have that arena there, the LPL can do road shows to America.
I mean, hey,
Imagine JDG.
that would be fun.
Imagine T1 versus Gen G playing one of their weeks of games in New York City. In the same way that the NFL does London games and like
Yeah,
sends them out, you have other regions come in and play in New York City because
that's crazy, man.
we already sold out Madison Square Garden Hulu Theater. We could easily sell out a Lowell Park, New York City.
I'm just saying that's crazy. This is the point we're at. In my head, I'm just like, oh my goodness, they're really saying it's dead, without saying it's dead.
Brene.
Saying we want to consolidate the teams because we work with too many teams is like the nice way of saying we need to cut some of the fluff.
Yeah, but I mean they need to. They expanded too quickly. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
That's just
we're in
sad.
cost cutting measures. Like Deadline put out. I can't talk about this much, but Deadline put out an article today saying that. Hang on, let me read the headline because it's one of the most vicious things I've ever seen. The headline. The headline reads, "Bracing for the bloodbath. Disney layoffs to resume on Monday."
Oh.
And it's a whole article about how layoffs are going to be happening from Monday through Thursday, and nobody has any clue what's going on. There's widespread panic. Now, I cannot comment on this article. What I just told you is the article itself. But
Man.
I'm telling you, I'm sitting on $1 billion idea here. And it's not
Yeah.
even a new idea. It's literally just give me a Lowell Park in New York City. And it will sell.
I wish they would.
It will sell.
I wish they would.
I promise you, it will do numbers. You'll have a sustainable business downstairs that people around the United States will want to travel to because it's not just League of Legends either. It's Valorant. It's the MMO. It's any Riot title. I'm telling you, Valorant can come. Oh, dude.
What about TFT?
TFT 2, sure, whatever. Sure.
That's just sad though. This is the point we've gotten to. We went from where this started out. What was it? Where we started out was like, oh man, they could really try to build local, figure it out. But I mean, I get the economy went bad. Like it basically went dog piss. But for them to just openly go, what are you gonna do? We're cutting as many people as we can. After it goes dog piss, is just like, wow.
Look, at the end of the day, to end this on a positive note, I am still confident in the future of esports. Entirely. I think people do want to watch competitive video games. That's just the nature of it. They want to watch entertaining video games, people playing against each other, even if it's not like the highest level of competition, it's more on the entertainment side. I still believe that there's a full future here. What it will look like, I don't think we have any clue. What it's going to look like 10 years from now is going to be nowhere close to what we thought it was going to be 10 years ago.
And that's if they can get it back.
It might not even come back. It might change into something else entirely. But you know what?
Well, I'm only saying for LCS if they can get viewers back.
Oh, I doubt that.
Because right now, every year they're.
I doubt.
I just mean percent-wise. If you're gonna cut out teams and keep cutting things, and you don't have a good outlook on your own thing, and it's been slicing this bad, at some point, what's the point in playing in front of 20,000 people, man? On Twitch. I'm not saying in a stadium.
No, I agree and I get you. At some point they'll cut it. But alright, stream, with that, I know we didn't do a subtopic tonight. It was very last minute. I promise you we will make up for it next week and take all the sub takes you guys want. It'll be the final one before MSI kicks off. So we'll have a lot to talk about. Any final words, Paul, before I end the stream?
No.
Sweet.
Go team Mr. Beast. That's my new team, I hope.
I hope so too, but we'll see.
Go
Uh,
Heels. North
see you,
Carolina, baby.
see you guys next week. Adios.